everyone, it's Annie R and welcome back to my channel and on to the series on how to become an English teacher in South Korea. So today we're going to be talking about all the documents you need in order to apply and in order to send off your final documents. We're first going to start with actually all of the qualifications that you need. So make sure you write these down and check off, because if you don't qualify for each and every one of these, then you're more than likely not going to be able to teach in Korea. So one of the first things is that you need to make sure that you are over 18. You also need to make sure that you are from one of the following countries, which would be the US, the UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Canada. Okay. So you need to be from one of those 7 countries. You also want to make sure that you have had continuous English education. So mostly it's more important that you have it from like middle to high school. And they have this rule because even though all 7 of those countries are English based, or is that English is their main language. For example, South Africa, they have a lot of different languages in that country. So they just want to make sure that the candidates not only are from the countries, but that they have had their education or most of their education all in English. You have to have no criminal record. So this is both misdemeanors and felonies. So a squeaky clean criminal background check is needed in order to become a teacher in South Korea. You also have to be under the age of 62. And this is mostly because 62 is the retirement age in South Korea. And then of course you need to make sure that you have or are currently completing a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter what major it's in as long as it is completed, or it will be completed by the time you start working for them. So those are the qualifications you need to make sure that you meet in order to even apply. Now we're going to go on to what you need in order to actually turn in your application. So of course you're going to need the EPIK application itself, and that includes all of the information that they'll want from you, like standard information, you know, your place of birth, your name, and all that stuff. And then also that includes your sample lesson plan and your personal essays. Now, if you haven't seen what that looks like, I'll link it above and you can check that out if you want to, but pretty much it'll give you all the instructions that you need in order to build your lesson plan and to write your personal essays. It'll take some time and everything, but that'll be there for you, okay? You'll also need 2 letters of recommendation, and they'll have to be either from professors that have taught you in your university, or if you've already graduated and you've been working for a while, they'll have to be from your employer. The biggest tip I can give you about the letter of recommendations is to get several hard copies, okay? Now I'll get more into detail about how it's supposed to be formatted and what exactly needs to be done for the recommendation letters. But for right now, just know that yes, please get as many copies of those as you can, because you'll be sending them off if you get accepted to, you'll be mailing them to EPIK, and you'll just want a few copies just in case you need them for whatever reason. You'll also need a passport style photo. Now originally they'll want the photo to be 3.5 by 4.5 format. I personally, and I know a lot of people have come into this problem, I couldn't find someone or a company or whatever, or even Walgreens. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, you may or may not be, but it's just a store that you can print photos out, that you can print photos from, like a USB, you know, because most people will have it digitally and you'll need to print it out. But I had problems finding a place that had a 3.5 by 4.5 format. Now I mentioned this to my recruiter and she said that it's fine as long as it's very close to that size. I managed to get a 3.5 by 5 and it was accepted by EPIK, so that wasn't a problem. So if you can't find one that's 3.5 by 4.5, then it's not a big deal, okay? You just want it as close to that size as possible. Also, you don't necessarily have to have it professionally done. I did, but I know a lot of people that, well, I don't know them, but throughout my research and forums and stuff, I read that a lot of people didn't even get it done professionally, which was absolutely okay. The only important thing is that you have all of the requirements for that photo. For example, they want the photo to be shoulders up, or at least that's what they prefer. Mine was actually kind of like down here and up, kind of. They didn't say anything about it, so I figured, you know, it was okay. But yeah, if you want to be like by the book, shoulders up. You also have to have a plain background, kind of like what I have here, nothing distracting or anything. And when it comes to like a smile or anything, they say they do prefer a smile. It makes you look more friendly and everything, but it's not mandatory, you know. I don't think you really get any points as long as you don't like look super mean or something, you know. You should be good on that. And that's pretty much it for what you have to attach to your EPIK application. So when you're applying to EPIK, you have your application done, you're going to attach your 2 letters of recommendation, and you're going to attach your passport photo. So that's done. So you turn in your application. Now you just have to wait. You hear back, you get an interview, you pass the interview, and now they're telling you to turn in your final documents. What are those? Well, those will consist of many of the same things, but of course there's more steps to this because they have to be very official now. So the first thing you'll want to do is you will have to get a hard copy of your EPIK application. And once you apply, you're going to be able to download it. Once you apply and it was all finalized and everything, you're going to be able to download it. And from that, you're supposed to copy it. And from that, you're supposed to print it out that way. What they don't want you to do is to take like a screenshot of it and then print out the screenshot. That's not the format. So if by any reason or for any reason you aren't able to download your EPIK application, then contact either your recruiter or the EPIK team in order for them to send you a copy of your application, because you have to have it in that format, okay? Make sure that you have all the pages of your application. There's like 10 or so of them, but one of the most important things that you need to make sure that you don't forget, because many people have forgotten to do this, and then their documents are all sent back, and then you have to send them back again to them, and then this is the whole thing, is to have an ink signature. They require you to put your ink signature after you printed it on page 5. At the very bottom, that's the page that we're at the very bottom, you had to electronically sign, so you'll see your name printed on there from when before you printed it. You're gonna have to do an ink signature next to that electronic signature. If you don't do that, then they're gonna send it back, and you don't want that to happen. So make sure you don't forget, okay? Now the next thing you'll need will be a criminal background check. The important thing to know about this is that criminal background checks only last for 6 months, and that goes for any country. Another important thing to know about the criminal background check is that you have to have it done within your intake period. For example, if you're applying for the fall intake, applications start, or they open in February, right? I believe February 1st is when they open. So you have to get your criminal background check done from February 1st onward. So even if you get it done in, let's say, January, and it's still valid for 6 months, it still won't be accepted because the intake hadn't opened yet. Does that make sense? So another example, if you're applying for the spring intake, that would open, applications for that would open in August 1st. So your criminal background check has to be done from August 1st forward. Getting your criminal background check is kind of a lengthy process, especially if you're doing it the traditional route. So that's something that you'll really want to work on right away. Probably the first thing you want to get started. So in order to get that done, you have to get your fingerprints taken. You can get that done at your local police station, or you can use a website called Fingerprints. I personally did not use that. I went to my local police station and I got my fingerprints done there. But many people have said that Fingerprints do a pretty good job, that you get your background check like a lot quicker than the traditional route of going to the police station and getting them done there. But yeah, you have those 2 options for you to get them. You want to make sure that your name is correct. Whenever you get your background check, you want to make sure that your name is spelled correctly, because it doesn't happen often, but sometimes, you know, they might make a mistake as well. So you want to make sure that your name is spelled correctly. And also, before we keep going, you should know that you do need to get the criminal background check apostilled and notarized. Now, you can get this done either through mailing your criminal background check to the Department of State, or you could do what I did and do it through a channeler. I used Monument Visa. It was the one that Corvia recommended to me, and they were absolutely great. They did everything in a timely manner. Now, we are living in strange times right now, strange difficult times right now. So everything having to do with mailing services are like decreased so much. The timing is so much slower than it has ever been before. So the traditional route into getting your criminal background check apostilled would take you maybe, I don't know, I think I read somewhere between like 1 to 3 months. It's taking longer now, and now even with the Chandler like monument visa, when it used to take just maybe like about 1 week or so, is now taking months as well. So it seems like whichever route you take, it's gonna take quite a while. So you want to make sure you get this done, like if you're going for the spring intake August 1st, before you even start your application, I would personally suggest you start on your criminal background check. Do that first and then start on everything else, because you just don't know how long it's going to take, and the deadlines are still set. So first come first serve, or deadlines pass. I mean, you want to get things done in a timely manner. Another thing to know about having criminal background checks is that if you lived in another country for more than 2 years after the age of 18, you'll have to get a criminal background check with an apostille from that country as well. So on to item number 3 that you'll need for your final documents. You're going to need to send a copy of your bachelor's diploma. Again, as I mentioned before, it doesn't matter what your major is in as long as you have a bachelor's degree. And make sure that your name is spelled correctly. Make sure that you get it apostilled as well. Now this next part may apply to a great majority of you. Many of the newer teachers are fresh graduates. So if this is you, you may or may not have your degree yet, right? Or your diploma. So if you are still in the process of finishing up your bachelor's degree and you don't have the physical copy yet, you don't have a copy of it either, then all you have to do is get a letter from your administration office. Just email your administration office, let them know what you're trying to do, and that you need a letter that says, yes, you are graduating, yes, you will be receiving your diploma by this time, and just letting EPIK know that by the time that your contract, if you were to be accepted, that if by the time your contract starts that you would have your diploma, then that's what they want. Just be aware that you do still need to meet the deadline. So even if you're sending your final documents way ahead of time, you still need to send the actual copy of your diploma by the actual deadline. I'm not sure why they would do that. It's kind of contradictory. It's like they're trying to make you an exception for people who don't really have it yet, but at the same time, if you're not able to have it by the deadline, it's like not your fault. I'm sorry if this is your situation, but yeah, get a letter. It'll give you some time, but really nag at your university. Sometimes I've read that some people have been able to get theirs early due to their circumstances. So hopefully, you know, maybe if you're in the situation, you can get that done as well. For my UK and Australian candidates, you will have to submit a copy of your birth certificate with an apostille as well. Why? I don't know. That's just something that you have to do. And now back to everyone else as a whole. You will need to mail 2 official university transcripts. Okay, and that means they cannot be opened. And it's highly suggested that whenever you mail it with your documents in the enclosed individual envelopes, that you write on there, please do not open this envelope. It is unofficial once open. That way, if it's like DHL, FedEx, or whoever, you know, checks it at the border, or I'm not sure what the official term is, but apparently some people sometimes they need to check things, and just so that they know that, you know, they should not be opening this document, write that on your envelope, okay? That way you know that you did everything you could, because once it's open, EPIK will not accept it. So you really need to make sure that the envelopes are sealed. Another thing to know is that if you went to several colleges or universities, you know, as a transfer student, starting it here, ending it there, you will need to provide transcripts from both or however many colleges you went to. Now, they did say that if in your final transcript from your final university, they see all of your credits and all of the classes, all of, you know, your GPAs and stuff, the progress of your GPA, sorry, because you only have one GPA, but as long as they see everything, then you don't need to provide any extra transcripts. But if it only shows what you did in that one university, then yes, you will have to provide the rest that you've done. Next thing on the list is recommendation letters. Recommendation letters, aside from the background check, is probably one of the lengthiest things you'll have to wait for, because you're asking someone to do you a favor, and it's rude to, like, you know, you can't just rush them and be like, hey, I need it by this time, and they kind of don't meet that deadline, you know. So you really need to do these or ask for these recommendation letters in a timely manner, okay? Because they can take from weeks to months. For me, it took forever to get my employer to write me a letter of recommendation. It didn't take me as long to get some from my former professors, but it did still take quite a few weeks. So just be aware, you really want to ask your professors or your employers with enough time so that they can give it to you as soon as possible. When it comes to the greetings and the recommendation letter, you want to title it as "To whom it may concern." Now, it is appropriate as well to put "To the EPIK team" or something similar like that. But be aware that if, let's say, you want to change sometime in a year or two, you want to change from a public school to, let's say, a Hagwon. Hagwon, you don't get to a Hagwon through EPIK. EPIK is just public schools. So if you put "To the EPIK team," you won't be able to use that recommendation letter for your Hagwon application. So it's honestly just best to put "To whom it may concern." That's what I recommend to you guys. Have your recommendees, no. Have your professor or employer title their letter with "To whom it may concern." It'll make things much easier for you. You want to make sure that the page is filled at least 2/3 of the way. EPIK also wants you to have an official letterhead with the logo on it. In case your person that's writing this for you, in case they don't have a letterhead, like for the school or your employer, if they don't have a letterhead or logo, EPIK does want you to at least provide a business card. That way it has all the other information that they need. You have to make sure that the letter includes your full name. So Mr. So-and-so is writing about you, they could say Miss Blank, I have known Miss Blank and Blank, or Mr. Blank Blank for so-and-so years. So like they would say your first and last name, and just to make sure that they are talking about whom the candidate is. So you want to make sure that they include your first name, your full name. So you want to make sure that they include your full name. It has to include the date, the university or company name, also any kind of contact information that they'll need, like the school address or company address, phone number, and also an email address. The full name of the recommender and also the relationship that they have with you. So if they are your professor, former professor, employer, former employer, you know, whoever they are, the EPIK wants them to mention their relationship with you. And then it's the ink signature. Okay, so when you first apply, it's okay to send the digital format. Obviously that can't have an ink signature. Whenever you're copying or whenever you're printing out your recommendation letters, make sure that it doesn't have an electronic signature, okay? This being because even if you print that original format out and it has the electronic signature, even if they do their ink signature below it or somewhere else, it's still not accepted. EPIK will not accept two signatures, whether electronic and ink or the ink on top of the electronic. They're not going to accept that. Only ink signatures are accepted. So you're going to have to print out, I recommend printing out several copies, print them out, take them to your professor or whoever, and ask them to please sign them, because it needs to be ink signature. Right next on the list, it is your certification. Now, if you have a teacher's license, you do not need to get any type of certification. But if you do not have a teaching license, you didn't major in teaching, none of that stuff, you will have to get either a TEFL, TESOL, or a CELTA. And in any one of these, it has to be at least 100 hours or more. Usually the packages come with like at least 120. I know I did 120. It doesn't really matter if it's online or in person or half and half, as long as you get at least 100 hours. the certificate itself, it has to show and clearly display the amount of hours that you took. For the final documents, you can send a copy first, because it takes quite a while to get them. Actually, it took months for me to get mine in the mail, like the official certificate. So you can send a copy with your final documents, but then whenever you're actually like you have a placement and you actually go to South Korea, you do have to bring the original document with you. And apparently CELTA doesn't require proven hours or anything. I'm not sure why that is. I didn't take the CELTA. I'm not even sure what it is exactly, or the difference between the CELTA and all the different like TEFL, TESOL courses or anything. But if you have a CELTA or you took a CELTA, you do not need to prove your hours. Okay, this next part is for my South African candidates. If you are from South Africa, you are going to need to provide a letter to prove that you were taught in English during middle and high school. This kind of goes back to what I said earlier, how I used it as an example because, you know, South Africa has several different like languages, and you know, there's French here and then English over there. They just want to make sure that you have had most of your education in English in order to be qualified to teach English. You'll need to provide a letter from your previous educational offices just to prove that you have had your education in English. This letter should be signed in ink and must also include the total number of years that you were at that institution. And last but not least, tattoos. They're really, from my understanding, they're not really a deal breaker, but you definitely have to provide documentation or like photographs of any very obvious tattoos. So like if you have anything on your wrist, your arms, your neck, something that is easily visible, you're definitely going to have to claim it, and you will have to take a picture and attach that to your documents and send it as a final document as well. Whew, that was a lot of information. Honestly, I covered every like important detail that you would need to know, or the most important parts of the application document process, and like all the documents that you need. All of that has been stated. I may or may not have missed a thing here and there, but if I did, it wouldn't apply to most of you. Everything stated in this video applies to most people. I really hope this saves you guys some time. I really hope that it all made sense and that it helps you. I know it took me quite a while to get all of this down and to understand the process and everything, so I really hope this helps. Thank you so much for your support and for watching this video. Thank you for supporting my channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and watch out for the next video where I'm going to be talking about the updates of EPIK, how EPIK is going to be, how it has been over there in South Korea with this whole crazy pandemic thing going on. So I hope to see you there. Bye.